Okay, good evening, my friends and neighbors. It's good to see you all here. I'm Katie Tarasio. I am a member of the Franklin Square Civic Association. I sometimes help out with the Franklin Square Historical Society, and I was asked to moderate this evening's festivities. At the last meeting in October, we promised the about 250 people who came to that meeting that we would give you an update. And so this is that update. But first I want to thank the Plattduetsche, so Matt Buck and Christian Mullenpeel. Thank you very much for hosting us this evening. I mean, talk about a place that treats everybody like they're at home, right? And next I want to have the steering committee of Franklin Square Forward, just if you could stand up and just give a wave so everybody knows you're here. I'm not going to... Everybody, just give away. So, okay. There were several elected officials invited this evening. Most of them we have met with in the previous weeks. Legislator John Giuffre, Senator Patricia Canzaneri Fitzpatrick, Assemblyman Ed Ra, and Assemblywoman Michael Salage. A couple of them are up in Albany. I know Elaine Phillips was invited. She's the Nassau County Comptroller, but she unfortunately was ill. So we wish her a speedy recovery. But we did meet with them, and there will be an update provided by Bill at a later point. So when we had those meetings, we basically presented to our representatives the thoughts of the community and a basic outline of what the steering committee concluded was a possible example of a revitalization project in Franklin Square. And the support we received from them was really positive and overwhelming. But the common theme at the conclusion of all those meetings was that we really needed our town representation on board with our ideas. Because while there might be money, grants, et cetera, that at the state and federal level, the town would be the correct representation for us to apply for those. So in other words, the town applying for those types of things on our behalf to achieve grant funding or zoning overlay districts or redevelopment, et cetera, that the town is really the proper conduit for that. We did contact the town of Hempstead. We have requested to meet with them, and we are waiting on an available date. At that meeting, we will be able to express what a wonderful opportunity this will be for not only our representative, but also the town board as a whole. Revitalization projects have the potential to be big and visible, and while they cost a lot, they also generate a lot of revenue, increase property values, and there's a lot of economic movement with those changes. And the changes are also long-term and lasting. So at the last town meeting, which I unfortunately was not able to attend, there was a lot that went on. There was a bit of an airing of grievances, a bit of a brainstorm, a bit of discussion about theater renovation, some revitalization plans were presented. There was a discussion about preservation and landmarking. And since then, the steering committee, the people sitting among you tonight, have done their best to take the amorphous results of that meeting and come up with a more concise and cogent way forward. And also, I just want to let everybody know, this is a bit of a plug, that steering committee is always looking for new members. We don't have a ton of meetings. A lot of things are done through email, but it really is open to anybody in the community who has an interest in working towards these goals. We also have a lot of subcommittees that you can join that are slightly smaller, people working on budget research, people working on preservation research, people just looking for answers to a lot of our questions. So our door is always open. I think is there a QR code floating around? Yes, okay, so there's a couple of different ways you can get in touch with us, but we're always looking for more help. There also you will find pencil and paper on the table. Nancy wanted me to make sure I really stress this. You can write down on there questions you have, concerns, comments, any kind of information that you would like us to know, but make sure we have a clear and legible email because sometimes those get lost in translation from paper to computer. Okay. So there were a lot of things discussed at that first meeting, and what we basically distilled it down to were 2 points. We have 2 ways forward, and they are not mutually exclusive. So first, we have this downtown revitalization effort. This includes things like beautification projects, highlighting or adding to our collection of historic landmarks, changing zoning laws, including projects that create housing for seniors, changing how our hamlet handles public transportation or parking, etc. These are very official changes, and they require the involvement of our municipality. The town of Hempstead would absolutely have to go to bat for us with this. And this type of project can take a decade, if not decades. It requires massive community organization and input, and it really requires nailing down exactly what kind of redevelopment is acceptable to us, what redevelopment is appropriate and feasible within our neighborhood and within the grant parameters, should we be given one. So very specific stuff. And I will say to you right now, we have no immediate results to offer you on that front. We have yet to meet with the town. We cannot go to the state ourselves. They cannot offer to help us without the inclusion of our local representation. The people working on the committee can continue to work towards that, absolutely, if that's all what we want to do, but it requires others joining this effort. It requires people joining these committees, and number one, and I think above all, it requires all of us calling our local representation, Councilman Muscarella and Supervisor Clavin, and letting them know how much this is something that's really wanted in Franklin Square. And then after you call, you get your spouse to call, and then you get your neighbor to call, and then you go down to the PTA and you ask all of them to call. You get the idea. So we have to make our desire for this to happen known to those elected officials at the very local level. Okay. And then the community can use committees like the Franklin Square Forward Steering Community, and not only that, but also the other local organizations that we have in town. There are civics, there are chambers. All of those groups can be included in sort of shaping these very specific ideas of where we want this redevelopment to go. So that's the first way forward. The second way forward is slightly less overwhelming, only slightly. It's far more grassroots, it's much more attainable, it's much more community-based, and the biggest benefit is that it already has somebody working their butt off to make it happen. And this is renovating and revitalizing the Franklin Theater. And that is a way forward because there are precedents for a project like this being an organic catalyst for positive change in a downtown district. So it's been done before. So you see theaters or other sort of venues go into a space, become successful, and from that, the area starts to change slowly, but it does. And this particular way forward gives us a more immediate and more positive movement and change when you compare it to the huge investment that would be a redevelopment project. And it has the capability to include much more local influence, in that we've got Darren here who is looking for help and investment. So without further ado, we're gonna get started filling you in on everything we know, everything we've learned, and then we're gonna get an update on where the theater is in its revitalization project. Okay. So I'm gonna introduce Bill Youngford, and he's gonna give you a recap of our meetings with those elected officials. Oh, thank you.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming out on this dreary night, but at least it's not raining or snowing. At least it wasn't when we got here. I'm really happy to see all the faces, my neighbors and friends and colleagues. I want to just take a little survey. How many people were not at the October 17th meeting here? Raise your hands, please. Okay, good. That's what I thought. Well, thank you for coming out tonight. We spent a lot of time talking about those 2 boards that are up against the back wall, and we'll talk about them later in a little bit, but it is something we need to talk about again, obviously, since some of you were not here October 17th. I also want to thank, before I forget, the people on the steering committee who've been giving up the time to set aside their calendars to have some of these meetings I'll be talking about in a second. We started off by writing a letter to all of our public officials, and Katie mentioned some of the names already. And we said, we'd like to sit down, a small group of us, show you the plan that we have, see if we can get your help moving it forward. That was November 24th. Of course, we know November and December are busy times of the month, so it's not surprising we didn't get a call back right away from the people who do the scheduling. But our first actual meeting was with New York State Assemblyman Ed Ra, who's a wonderful person, friend, great person for Franklin Square. He was the first one who wanted to meet with us right away on December 12th. And we sat down with him, showed him the plans that are in the back of the room, and he was very excited about it. And he said, you know, there are some state grants that we could probably get to help provide funding for modification to the theater. And I'll try to locate those. I'll have my aides do some research and get back to you on it. So we're very happy to hear about that. Also, part of the plan was to create, and we have a lot of empty buildings you might have noticed in our town, and we thought maybe we could create senior housing in a couple of different spots. So for seniors who have aged out in our community, don't want the burden of living in a house and maintaining a house, but still want to live in Franklin Square because they love the community. People just love our town. They have 3 generations living here. Maybe they'd like to live in a small little senior housing development and come to these empty spots of stores or buildings that are vacant. So Ed Ra mentioned that there is a governor initiative right now to provide housing and for new housing all across the state. And maybe these senior housing situations might be able to get some funds from the state. So he's going to do some research on that. He was very happy to meet with us. What a great way to have a first kickoff of the first meeting. The next meeting was with our Nassau County legislator, John Giaffre, on January 2nd. So I met with Ed Ra, December 12th, the committee. January 2nd, day after New Year's, John wanted to meet with us. Unfortunately, with all the celebrating people were doing over the holiday, he came down with a cold. He didn't want to cancel the meeting. That's the kind of person John is. You've met John, you know that. He said, can you come to my office? I'll set up a video link so we can have the meeting, and I won't give anybody adjournments, but I want to meet with you guys. I've heard some good things about your plan. So we sat down in front of a big TV camera. We had a great meeting with John. He loved also hearing about the plan and how we have some ideas to how we can revitalize and get some revitalization excitement in our town. He asked lots of questions, and then he ended the meeting by saying, you know, it's really crucial that you guys meet with the town of Hempstead people, because that's where the funding has to start, from the town. I said, yes, we know, we're trying to work on that. And he said, let me know if there's anything I can do for you. But as a county level, you really can't get money from that level to do a local project like this. Okay, fine, thanks, John. Another great meeting we had was with Senator Patricia Canzoneri Fitzpatrick. That's a big name. January 3rd. She loved our presentation also. She took lots of notes, jotted down lots of notes what we were trying to do. And then she asked, what other public officials have you met with so far? So we very quickly told them we met with Ed Ra, we met with John. Said, okay, good. And suggested that we have a meeting with our town officials because that's where a lot of this funding starts from. And we said, okay, yes, we're trying to work on that. So we left there feeling very pleased. She liked the ideas we had. Our next meeting was with Assemblyman Mikhail Salaj, a local state assembly person. Unfortunately, she was up in Albany, but we talked to her district person, district director, Grace, and her last name, I'm going to mispronounce it, I'm sure. I'm going to say Amamafo, a very nice lady. She also took a lot of notes, liked our presentation, what we want to get planned done. And she said, you know, your problems in your town as an unincorporated village are very similar to what's going on in Elmont right now. Elmont leaders have very similar problems over the last couple of years. And she said, I'd like to invite some of them to your meeting if you'd like me to. And I said, sure. Now, I don't want to put anybody on the spot right now, but is anybody from Elmont here? Raise your hand, please. No one? Okay. Maybe they was too cold out. That's okay, but they were supposed to get in touch with us. Maybe we'll meet with them and talk about some things we can work on jointly. She also mentioned that there are reimbursable grants that the state gives out. What that means is you have to lay out the money first, and then you get reimbursed after you do the project. So I don't know how that's going to actually help us, but it might be something we can do later on when we do modifications to the inside of the theater maybe. And then last but not least, we had a meeting scheduled January 24th with Donald Clavin and Councilman Tom Muscarella. They were our local town of Hempstead people. And unfortunately, we got a phone call 2 days before the meeting that called Donald Clavin out of town and he couldn't make a meeting, which we understand. People have a lot of business that they have to conduct. And we gave his secretary 4 other dates and time ranges that maybe we could set up a meeting sometime in February. But unfortunately, that has not happened yet. And so then I reached out to my good friend Vinny Giordano, who some of you may know. He owns 2 caterers, and he and Tom go back a long time. And I said, Vinny, I'm really having a hard time getting an appointment with Tom Muscarella. Can you do me a favor? Can you reach out to him and tell him we'd really like to have him here tonight at this meeting at the Plattduetsche? And he said, sure, I'll do that. Hold on, I'll do it right now. So, Vinny gets on his phone and sends the message. And then we got a message back today that unfortunately Tom had 2 other meetings to go to tonight in Garden City, previous engagements. But Vinny assured me that he'd like to meet with us. So we give him a couple of dates about a month ahead of time so he can put it in his calendar and we'll try to set it up. So we're going to be working on that. And that's the summary of all the meetings we've done, which probably took a lot more time than I just had to speak about. And thank you for your attention. And now I'm going to get a chance to introduce Darren.
Hello, everybody. Woo. How you doing? So I'm going to give you an update from last time we had this meeting about the theater. It moved away. It's been moving forward nicely, faster than probably the town can get it going because we're doing it, like Katie said, grassroots. So I can give you an update. So we're able to get into the building and take a look at the inside and take pictures. So this is, these are just some of the revitalizations for the downtown area that we were thinking about. One was refurbishing a fountain. Does anybody know that we have a fountain in this town? We have a fountain. It's actually right across from the Plattduetsche. There's a fountain. It used to be back in the 70s. So that's one of the other things that we want to revitalize is the fountain. Aside from installing some Franklin Square signs, we don't have any signs anymore that go into and come out of Franklin Square, east and west. So that's another thing. And uplifting the storefronts. These are all things that Katie and Bill were talking about, and Paul will talk about later on. So we just skip past this one. So this is all Paul stuff. Here you go, past this again. Okay, so here's the theater. So this is what we were thinking about. This is definitely, it's going to be something for the community. So since we're going in this direction where we're doing grassroots style, we're looking for the town to support it in a sense, where if they see movement and the town is interested in this, and this is what the town wants, through a GoFundMe site, which is raising money for the build out of the theater. If we raise even more, we can then just buy it ourselves as Franklin Square, not the town of Hempstead, Franklin Square. And then this way, it then can give back to its town. So like we can help either the businesses through different philanthropy, because it will be set up as a 501c. It's a bigger project, but it's more community-based. But it's also less than building out a real fancy theater. So it's going to be a hybrid of all these things at once, where it's a community center and an event space and a theater. So so this is the inside of the theater. So this one on this side here, this is the downstairs theater. So that's one side, and then the other side is pretty much identical to that. That would be the event space that we would create. It's hard to draw what you would do for that space right now because we're still trying to figure out there's a space behind it. So sizing is very difficult. It turns out to be like a 50 by 50 space. And then you have to include a stage into that. And then the upstairs theater is the one that we would want to turn into, still have the small theaters run movies for kid shows on the weekends, and gaming on Fridays for the video game heads, they're more like gamers, like the younger generation, and then other movies that we like as far as the older generation. So it's going to be a very good mix of what's going on. It could also, because it has a stage, it could also have theater, comedy, music, on a smaller scale, because each theater is only seats 50 people. And we're going to be changing the theater seating into more of like a loungy feel, which is more comfortable, because you're never going to fill 50 anyway. So there are other thoughts of what we could do with that space. I'll get into that a little bit later. So then, this is the downstairs theater. And this theater is right on the side of the workshop, of the lobby. This is the one that we'd want to turn into a workshop for kids, adults. So this would be very community oriented, more so than the event space. So you really don't have to go into the full theater to appreciate the workspace and the community end of it. Because the back end, the event space, is going to be more for the weekends and big holiday events. Okay, so now this is the floor plan that we have. So now if you look, this over here, that's the balcony. So where that stage is most likely could be the rest of the balcony. So in theory, if we were able to have that stage come up and go down, it could then turn into more seating, and then you could have the screens that would be there come out, and you'd have a full theater experience to the rest of the theater. So we could have the best of both worlds with this project. It's a good possibility for that. And then this room here, that's where the workshops are. And then the back area is going to be the event space. And then there's a further back space that's going to be more backstage and maybe even holiday events. This is the lobby now, and then what we'd be turning it into would be this. That's just one of the ideas. As you can see, this here is the workshop area, and then that would eventually turn into that. That's where the theater is, that's where we turn into. This is the upstairs, where the projection booth is, which would be another cafe, would be upstairs, which would feed those two theaters. So we're really hoping that those two theaters are going to really rotate a lot of business constantly, so it's going to have its own cafe. So the whole thing would be like a really hub. It's not going to be open on just the weekends. I really hope to have this thing open from like 11 to 11 every day, like 7 days a week. So it's like a real community center. Like it's always a place to go to. That's it. So we're going to have to raising up money for this. Did you want to make a question?
What do you envision the exterior looking like?
The exterior, so it used to be white at one time, but I thought it would be cool if it was white and black. When I was up on the roof, I did see some black tile that was up there, so I can't wait to start exposing stuff. But I think just a white and black, nice, crisp graphic design would make it stand out for the town. One of the things, since the town is going to be helping revive this, like we're going to be the driving force in the beginning to show attention to it, that we get the results from it. So either between being able to give you a lesser cost going to the movies or some of the events that are there, that's pretty much how it's going to be designed. If we build it, we get to use it, and we get to get the benefit of the philanthropy that it could give back to the community between either the businesses or personal or just cleaning up things that the town can't do that's been lacking in the town itself. So with that, we have 60 days. So we have a deal set in place. We have 60 days due diligence to kind of grab this momentum and see what we can do with it. So we're going to be starting a GoFundMe. You have a question back there?
Will this be set up as a nonprofit?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a 501c. And we have some of the, it's starting to create, we can't do much now until we see the momentum that we're going to have. Once that happens, then we can really start going through. So none of the money is going to be taken. We're just going to watch it grow. If it gets to the point where we can move forward, we move forward. The only drawback with going with the GoFundMe, not even a drawback, it's just that there's 2.9 per dollar. So you get 3 cents taken out of the dollar that you invest in, whether it goes to the project or it goes back to you. So let's say if we raise the money and it's not enough, we only raised 100,000 and we need $1.5 million, then it goes back to you. But you miss 3 cents on every dollar, unfortunately. But we're really pushing for it to go forward. I don't think it's going to go backwards. My goal is just for it to go forward. I'm not thinking backwards. And I just played lotto today. So. The projected cost of the build out alone would be 2 to 3 million. It's a lot of work, yeah. But it's going to be very much a multi-usable space. So we want to be able to incorporate bigger events and also smaller events. So it's constantly being in motion, constantly generating money. And by my numbers, if this thing works, it's going to be generating so much money, we should really be able to fix up the freaking town. Like, yes?
The theater was going to have shows for young, for older.
Yes.
An event center.
Correct.
That people can hold events. But what was the other section? You said it was more of a workshop.
The workshops in the front were going to be set up like how-to workshops, kids yoga. That was going to be very much oriented for more of the arts. And then a lot of those really messy projects that you can't do at your house that are really fun to do, you can do there. And we'll be setting up for that.
So how do you determine if people will just come in?
No, there'll be a schedule. There's going to be a very tight schedule because the thing has to run like this. So and the beautiful thing is we have 6 boards right outside that can tell you what's going on and what's coming. And we'll also have, everything listed on the website. So it's going to be very scheduled. It's not going to be too much free for all, Yeah, no, it's going to be very scheduled.
So, looking at this is something that a lot of us need. I'm 30 now, but I've been in the neighborhood for 20 plus years. Something like this, something that I feel like would be great for the younger generation to have a place to go to. Especially, now everything is changing and families are moving in, families are moving out, people are moving everywhere. I think this is a great way to represent our friends where it is, what it was and what it is to be. And I think that just listening to you talking about the workshops and things like that, I think that would be a great area where sometimes we could even get local teachers that are willing to do something
Yes.
in theater and have like an after school program where maybe a science teacher once a month would be willing to go in and do something.
We have all that planned. Yeah, we have a lot of programs planned, and then with that, we also get, because there's a 501c, we also get grant money for certain programs that we put together. So we'll have, once it's open, we'll actually get more assistance from the town than when building it itself. You were back there.
So is the plan to actually acquire the building and then
Yes.
who would operate the facility? Would it be
It's-
a known entity? Because running those type of facilities to actually generate money to keep that operating cost, it's got to be.
Right, it's a 501c, there'll be 5 to 7 directors.
But would there be a company of somebody, some other agency or not-for-profit that actually runs these types?
It depends on who ends up buying it. If we end up raising enough money to buy it ourselves, then we'll have to figure that part out. If we don't, and then we're gonna get somebody to buy the building itself and then help out with it. We just wanna try to acquire it. And they are very lenient and they wanna work with us. So that's the good thing. So if they see forward motion, they're kind of like, we see forward motion, we'll work with you, So I really hope that we can acquire this building with somebody, if it's not the town itself acquiring it, somebody that does acquire it doesn't want to be a landlord that charges a lot of money or anything like that. That's someone that's just, listen, I just got it secured for you guys, as long as it pays the taxes, which hopefully we won't even have that. It just, that's what we're looking for.
You said it's going to be $2 to $3 million to renovate it. How much is it to buy it?
That's another 3 million. It's 2.9, but I'm going to try to work on that one. But right now it's 2.9, and they'll hold that right now they'll hold the note on part of it, so then we could just pay off the rest when it's operating. So that would be the other bonus to it. So we don't have to put all the money down up front. We would have to be able to just secure it, and then while it's operating, it could pay off the rest of the loan. Is there an option to rent? Possibly, but I'd rather win lotto. I'm hoping as a 501c, yes, because it's an $86,000 tax. Yeah. Aside from, well, the GoFundMe. So the GoFundMe is designed, we're gonna do a massive campaign in the neighborhood of a GoFundMe. So you're looking at the town, if the town's interest is there for this project, then we'll know, and because it's raising money, aside from whoever philanthropist or grants that we can get to attain our goal, and we have 60 days to do it. If it doesn't reach the goal and the town doesn't want it and we're not really pushing for it, then it just goes back to the way it was and turns into some, who knows, whatever. That's also a situation, but we do have municipal lots all around, and we're still working on different areas that we could turn into parking lots. Like they already had one with Synergy, they were trying to turn something into a parking lot. So we're still gonna work in those directions. But right now there are 3 municipal lots around it. So there is a lot of parking, you just have to walk a little bit. That's all that is.
Is this open to the public or Franklin Square only?
It's open to the public, yeah.
Okay, will there be security?
Obviously. Definitely need that.
And how's that, who's going to be paying for the security?
The entity itself. It's going to be its own entity that that's the plan.
I have a question.
Yeah.
You just mentioned that it'll be open to the public. So would you encourage then folks that live outside of the neighborhood to then contribute to this fundraiser? Other recreation centers or mixed use, however you want to call it, in other towns. I can't go into Garden City and use theirs. I can't go into Fall Park and use theirs either. Is there a reason why we want to open them to the public? Just curious.
Because it generates more money. We can't, we're not gonna, I don't think us as just Franklin Square people are gonna be able to, go there that much that's gonna help support it. Where what we do is we get discounts. We're Franklin Square residents, we get discounts, we get certain perks that other people won't be able to get. And that's how we're gonna work it. I don't wanna close anybody out of the place. It's gonna be a place, aside from a place that's gonna have events, we're also hoping to hone the talent that we have in this town and surrounding neighborhoods, because there's so much talent there with not a place to go to showcase. So it's gonna have a very duality going on there. It's gonna be a very multi-used space.
Will you address parking as well, or is that something that?
I just went over the parking a little bit, but it's something that we're always working on. But again, there is 3 municipal lots that are in the area. Hello? And then we are working on securing other locations. Anybody else?
Just to clarify, the municipal parking is the one where St. Catherine parks and the one where Wendy's is, right next to Wendy's. So for those of you who don't know,
Yes.
those are actual parking lots that you're allowed to use whenever you're in the neighborhood. It doesn't necessarily have to be for Wendy's or the salon or, yeah, thank you. So it's like,
Yes. The putting down? Well, I'm working on that. Right now it's 2, but I'm working it down. Because, and again, if they see movement going towards this, they're going to be, all right, again, they want to see this happen, so they're not going to really, but as long as they see movement, if they see it hits 50,000 or 100,000 and they fall short, so that's why we're going to be aggressively, I'm going to be reaching out to other philanthropists, aside from just the town, it's not going to be us. I mean, any other philanthropist that we can get that can donate money to the situation, that would be great. But we also want to see how much the town's really interested in this. Again, we could build it and then nobody shows up because everybody stays in the house, It's like, But this is to get everybody out, everybody to be a community, to enjoy the space, do things that you can't do in your house. That's what the whole thing is designed for, and to really get the talent out there as far as exposing talent and seeing all the classic talent that's out there that we don't get to see because we have to go to Huntington, or we have to go to the city, or we have to go wherever we have to go. We can have it in our own backyard.
Is there another model that this is being benchmarked with, or like, you know?
There's some that I've seen in the city, but at this point, we're trailblazers.
I struggle because there's a lot of event spaces around here that aren't being used. There's restaurants not being used, there's things not being used, and it is a concern. We need to like go out on a limb here and something this big.
Right.
And I do struggle sometimes with how much of a community we are. To me, there's 3 tree lightings, there's all these things separate and siloed and segregated, and yet we don't come together as a community as much as we should. You know,
I agree with that, I understand that, and I'm hoping that this center will bring everybody together, because it's like a meeting spot. We don't have a meeting spot, like, you know, it's like, and that's what this is gonna end up being. Like, that's what I'm hoping it's gonna be, this hub, you know? And even like, if it's generating funds and it has its own maintenance department, hopefully, like, I would love to be able to just take care of that whole block, you know, just like, it would be power washed 4 times a year, you know? There's like a lot of maintenance projects that I'd like to implement that, again, if it's successful enough, it could sustain itself and then do good for the neighborhood. So again, like you said, like, I don't know of a real model, so we're trailblazers at this point.
You said you would have like 5 to 7 people be on your board?
Yes.
Who would those people be?
So far, I have 2. I'm still working on other people. I don't know. I have, he used to be the director of the New York's Art Council in Manhattan, so they would have to definitely have experience. Yeah, I'm hoping, yeah, I'm looking for people with experience. Yes. Yes, I agree with that. So far, I have 2. I have 2 so far, and I'm like, I know there will be more coming up as we get along. He was the ex-director of the New York Arts Council in the city, so he's familiar with running an arts council. It's also a 501c. He did it for 8 years. He now owns restaurants. So I'm looking for key people that have the experience. It's not like, hey, my buddy's going to come in. You know, they have to have experience in that field, wherever they're going to be in that. Because I'm not looking to have this thing fail. I need it to be a success. And we all need it to be a success. If we're all going to be putting up for this, it's got to be a success. Yes?
Do you have a website set up so if there are people here that feel like they would be a good fit for this, they could contact you and send them?
So there's the Franklin Square Forward, and there's also one that's for the theater project right now that's designed, but that's pretty much designed to, for the GoFundMe site and to raise awareness and what we're doing. They could message on that as well. You'll get more information on those sites. It's called the Franklin Square Theater Project. It's on Instagram and Facebook.
We're gonna show that as well, so you get to see that thing.
I'm assuming if this is gonna be something run as a community, that you're voting a board, just like the museum has a board.
Correct.
And so on and so forth. It's not gonna just be, you know, whoever you choose or whoever.
Correct.
It's gonna be something that you would have to vote on and bring in people that either are part of the community or are part of the community plus have experience running something like this.
Correct.
Mike makes a great point that
Oh, correct. 100%.
you can't have something with no direction, you know.
Correct.
Are we talking around 5 to 6 million to do this whole package?
If we end up buying it right off the bat, yes. If we don't buy it right off the bat.
5 to 6?
Huh?
You're talking between buying it and renovations, between 5 and 6 million?
Correct. Any other questions?
Any thought process for a job of this magnitude, with the GoFundMe and the 60-day short window that we have to generate interest? How are we gonna go about the GoFundMe? Are we gonna take larger steps like getting media involved, like a news 12, a Newsday?
Yes.
And let that, spread the word and
Yes, 100%. So this is the start of the 60 days is today. So we have other people in place. We have a definitely crew. I have people that already, that are part of the Civic Association, that are friends of the Civic Association. That's what they do is fundraising. So they have a lot of contacts with the media. So we're definitely going to be using those avenues as well. 60 days is short, but it's also long at the same time. I would like to have another meeting 30 days in here again, so we can give an update at 30 days, and then the following meeting on 60 days, which is like the end cap, and then we can decide at that point where we're going forward. So, but that's unknown to the Plattduetsche at this point. They know now. Yeah, I'm asking you guys right now. Yes.
I believe that there was already, I think News 12, or what was it that already posted that this was like going on about bringing back some type of theater.
Yeah, we had an article. We've had some generations, we had articles on Newsday, but nothing that was geared towards the GoFundMe and raising funds and really pushing out the concept. So we're going to fine tune the concept a little more so we can get it into a media package that's going to be on the Instagram and Facebook page, and then really start to pushing it out to the different avenues as far as media goes. Any other questions at all? Okay, well, I hope you guys all enjoyed the presentation. We're going to have more stuff in 30 days. I really appreciate you listening. And I'm really looking forward to building you guys a theater. I really hope this works out.
Thank you, Darren. So Darren talked a little bit about some of the advertising that's going on, some of the things that are going on. We have people looking at all different things. I'm on the steering committee as well. My name is John Israel. I'm also the president of the Civic Association currently in Franklin Square. These pictures are, I can't even stop looking at it. I'm like, it looks like this, and then all of a sudden it looks like that. It's pretty cool. Can you make it happen just like that? Like, can we like watch that happen? That'd be really cool. Somebody have a question? I saw a hand go up somewhere. Oh, I'm sorry. Usually I have a loud mouth. All right, that's cool. Sorry about that. So as Darren was talking about, there's going to be, there's a big social media blitz going on, and we have some folks on the steering committee that are very well-versed. I'm clearly standing under a speaker or something. There's a lot of people on the committee, several people on the committee that are very well-versed in grant writing and working with large corporations to sponsor things. So those are also options that we're looking into as well. So obviously funding is a challenge. It's a challenge with everything. We all know that. But it would be really nice to have a center of the community. What I want to talk about a little bit is some of the techie stuff, because I'm the techie guy on the committee. So I'm going to talk about the website, and I'm going to show that to you. Somebody asked if there's a QR code. I'm going to pull that up in a minute. You can grab your phone, you could shoot it, and then if you want to follow along on the website, you could do that too, because it'll take you right to the website. We do have, so there's a couple things, as Darren mentioned. So we've got a website for Franklin Square Forward. So Franklin Square Forward is a group of essentially just nonpartisan people. Some of us are board members of different associations, including the Civic Association, the Historical Society, and some other groups as well. And so that's kind of what makes up the steering committee. We have a website for that, that's franklinsquareforward.org. And then on top of that, we have some social media pages that are specific to, so we have one that's for Franklin Square Forward, and then we have another one that's specific to Darren's project, that being the theater itself. So I could show you those. We'll post some stuff, but we'll show you those, and so you can get a feel for where you can find information. Because I know everybody's going to want to say, like, well, we want to know where we're at, we want to know what's going on, and all that stuff. So all the things that Bill spoke about, like meeting with elected officials and all that, the notes and everything, we've got all of that on the website. So every meeting, the information's all public. You can go on, anybody can go on the website. You could pull up the notes from the meeting. You could see what the elected officials said, what they agreed to do, not do, like, don't like, anything like that. You could see we'll post different things about, grants, things when they come through, things we're going for, and then probably like a sort of a monthly update, general updates, just where the project is, where we're going, what's next, what are the next steps, what are the action items, who's responsible for what, that type of stuff. So I'm gonna see if I can step over here without blowing up the speaker system. And I know everyone wants to keep watching this because I see everybody's eyes just like glued to it, but we're gonna come out of that for a minute. And we will also post some stuff like this on the website as well, so you'll get to see some more pictures and renderings and stuff. But what I want to do right now is bring this up here. I'm going to do a couple things. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up this. Okay. Oop, come on now. Okay. All right. I don't know how big I can actually make this, but see if that works for your phones. If anybody wants to follow along, feel free to take out your phone, shoot that puppy. Whoa, that's really big. I didn't think it was going to be that big. Hold on. Is that better? Maybe that's a little bit better? See if that works.
It works.
Yeah? Awesome. Perfect. So you want to follow along? That'll take you right to the website. Thank you. I appreciate that. Put my hand over it. All right. So this is our website. And so currently we have home, about us, and the project. So if you go under the project, you'll see a couple of links here, right? So you've got project updates, which you'll also see up here. We'll also have upcoming events. This is really bad. I'm sorry, guys. So you'll see upcoming events right here in the middle. And then you'll see on the top in the menus, you've got the project, an event calendar. So if you click on the event calendar, you'll see tonight's event right here. Here you all are right here. You're at this event right now. And then if you go to About Us, it talks a little bit about the Franklin Square Forward steering committee, what we are, what we're doing, what we're trying to do, hopefully. We are going to do it. I shouldn't say what we're trying to do. We're going to do it. We're going to make it happen. I might need a little help, though. So you can go to project updates, and on project updates, you'll get a monthly update. So the last one we did was December. Obviously, like Bill said, through the holidays, not as much has taken place through the holiday season. So from December till now, now we'll probably put another update up after this meeting, talk about some of the things we spoke about here. But you'll get all the updates there. And then if you go to meeting notes, right, you can see here we've got New York State public officials meetings. Oops. We've got Nassau County public official meetings and Town of Hempstead meetings. So let's say we go to the New York State one. You could see our meeting right here with Ed Ra and Mikhail Solage as well. So you can click on it. It'll give you all the details of that meeting, all the notes from that meeting, and the bullet points of things that took place. So this is all public. Everybody can see it. Everything is transparent. That's what we want because we need the community to know about these things. Otherwise, there's no point, right? So that's pretty much what we're doing. And then since John Jouffre is here, I'm going to pull yours up. So if we go to the Nassau County meetings, oops, let me go back over here. Go to the Nassau County meetings, and you can see here our meeting with legislator John Jouffre, who's sitting right over here. John, give a little wave. Give him a round of applause. 2 days after New Year, John chose to meet with us, although you weren't feeling well. I get that. I couldn't make it. Oh, it was the flu? Oh, everybody seems to be. Good. You did, and we have the notes from that. So you can see everything here. So that's pretty much, the website. I'll ask if there's any questions on this first. If you go to contact, if somebody asked about contacting us, like if somebody's interested in being part of the committee or being on the board of the theater piece specifically, you can go to contact right here on the top, and there's a form right here. You fill that out. That's going to go right to an email address that Darren receives. So Darren will receive those inquiries. I'm sorry, Frank, no, I apologize. These go to Bill. The one for the theater goes to Darren. I'm sorry. That's another one we're setting up. Sorry, I'm losing my mind. And then what I will do is I'll go on Facebook, get to see my personal Facebook account. Oh, the weather, there's snow coming. Let me go to, I have a couple of things here, pages. Okay, so there are 2 pages, as we talked about before, right? You've got and as you can see, I'm really a social media maven. I have 3 whole pages under my pages. The Franklin Square Restoring Our Community, right? This is the Franklin Square Forward one, okay? So what I can do is, to all the people who are here, and I'll post it on the website as well, so because everybody knows about the website now. So right on the website, I'll put a links area, and I'll have all these links in there directly to these pages in Facebook. So if you go on Facebook, if you want to take a picture of it, you can, so you can search for it. Search for Franklin Square Restoring Our Community. That's the Franklin Square Forward page. That's the page that the Franklin Square Forward Steering Committee is updating. And we'll post things here, like some of the meeting things, or we'll probably post links to the website for the meeting minutes, because we don't want to post them in 50,000 places, the same thing. And then the other page, and I'll go back to my pages again. The other page is this one, which is specific to the Franklin Square Theater project. I thought that was a really cool picture that we found. I think, Katie, I think you had found that one originally. It's Nassau County, yeah. So that's a large number of people outside our theater waiting to get in. And we hope to take that same picture in a couple years, same way, with the same amount of people standing outside. All right. So on this page here, this is where we're going to post things that are specific to the theater. So things like the GoFundMe and stuff like that, you will see posted here on this page. Along with that, there's also an Instagram account, because I know some people are not on Facebook, they're on Instagram. So we have somebody in our crew who, I think he left, and then he came back, and then he left again. He's managing the Instagram page for us, so we'll have that as well. So I will post all the links to all of these things on the website. I've been a DJ for many years. I've never had this problem. I mean, this is my former lifetime. I don't do it anymore, but I did for many years. So I will post links to all of this stuff on the website, right on the home, right in the front, so that you can all see that. I'm just going to step over here. So you can all see that really easily. And then this way, we want to make sure that information gets out and that it's the same information that gets out to all sources, rather than having people talking about different talking points, and you know how things go with Facebook groups, right? It's like the telephone game. By the time it gets to the end, it has nothing to do with what was originally talked about. So we want to avoid that, and so to do that, we're going to kind of post everything on the website, but we will put links on social media to those posts on the website so that we can ensure that everybody gets the same information. So sorry. I guess I just have one of those voices. Nobody else had the problem. All right, so I guess I'll open up. Does anybody have any questions about any of the techie-related stuff that I can try to answer? Wow. I stumped the crowd. No, that's cool. All right. So I think that's pretty much it for me. The next thing we want to do is we want to bring Paul Van Wee up, if he's here somewhere. He's here. Where is he? Paul, come on up. Where are you? Here he is, making his way from the back.
Good evening, everyone. Last meeting, we had a long presentation on the significance of our downtown. I'm going to be very, very brief tonight. One thing we should all be proud of is our hometown. Not only because we live here, right? And we love it, and it's home. I think most of you have been here a long time. But our downtown is an intact downtown. It's a little worn around the edges, but it's intact. The basic bones of our downtown are good, and they can be restored without too much problem. We have a concentration of century-old buildings in downtown Franklin Square that most other towns do not have. And if you look at this board here, which we have the hard copy in the back, all of those areas with the stripes in red and where you see pictures are buildings that are over 100 years old. Now, not all of them are landmark buildings. Not all of them have to be landmarked. But if they were fixed up a little bit, they would shine. So you have places, for example, like the old folks' home next door, 1922. It's 103 years old. Then you move down a little bit, Krause Funeral Home, 90 plus years old right now. You have the Franklin Theater, 1933, 92 years old. And that is a designated town landmark that we want to restore. It's protected. And with Darren's plan, we'll be able to repurpose this unique Art Deco building that was the center of our entertainment in Franklin Square for generations. Then moving down, we have St. Catherine's. 100 years old this year. Father Arcolio is here. He's going to celebrate a century of that building. What an event that will be, 100 years of St. Catherine's. We have across the street the Hoffman Block. That's right at the corner of New Hyde Park Road and Hempstead Turnpike. 1925, 100 years old also, built by the Hoffman family. The Franklin Funeral Home, 1923, 102 years old, home of Andrew Hoffman originally. We have the Leibach Building, which is right where by Schillings used to be, 100 years old. We have the centerpiece of the community, the Franklin Square National Bank Building, first built in 1929, almost 100 years old. The bank credit card, the walk-up window were invented there, first in the nation. It's a national historic site, and most of our residents don't even realize this. Then you move down to the building across from the bank, also 1928, 27. Our first post office was there, and it's a beautiful Tudor building. And we have Peter J. Herman's house, 1901, right down the block from here. That is a designated landmark also. First house in Franklin Square with an indoor bathroom. All right? So we have a collection of buildings here. You can say about our downtown, it hasn't been butchered to death. And we don't want to freeze things in time. That would be silly. We want entrepreneurs to come in and bring good things, but things that will be in harmony with what we have. We don't want high-rise housing. We don't want things that are going to really damage the community. We're a residential community with beautiful homes, some of which cost more than $1 million now, as you know. And we need a downtown that will reflect the beauty of this community and the pride we have in it. I think that this plan, if we do it right, is going to achieve that goal.
Move your hand up a little bit and it won't do
So I'm done anyway. But I hope that you'll all be open to some of the plans Franklin Square Forward wants to do. We don't want to take away anyone's property. We don't want to make things hard for landlords. We want to do something where everyone will benefit in the end. The residents, the landlords, the merchants, the shoppers, and that will bring money into the community. Why do we have to go to Rockville Center or Garden City to do everything? We want to keep our resources here in our community of 30,000 people. So thank you for your support of the committee. It's much appreciated. Thank you.